So this is chapter 4, social perception, the processes that we use to understand one another, specifically others' behaviors. We cannot, of course, see someone's mental and generally cannot see their emotional state. So we rely on clues. We look at the persons that are involved in the situation itself, and the behaviors that are going on to try and get a big picture of what the behavior is and what is causing the behavior. So we tend to make snap judgments, and it's like in a fraction of a second that we make judgments on things like if someone is trustworthy, if they're honest, in like 0.4 seconds when we first see them. A lot of that has to do with their face. If they have a smile on their face, we generally instantly think they're trustworthy. If they have a frown on their face, we are generally going to think the opposite, that they're not trustworthy, or that they're like an angry person. We make snap judgments based on things like their clothing, haircut, their outside appearance, if they have tattoos, their smile, how attractive we think they are, how attractive those that are around them are, things like their posture. Do they slouch? If they slouch, is it because they're insecure? So we first look at their physical appearance. We then look at facial features. We tend to think that people with baby faces are more trustworthy. People that have more adult-looking faces are generally dominant, more domineering, take charge. Those are things on the outside of a person that we look at. Situations, remember we rely on 3 clues: person, situations, and the behavior. So the second part of that, we will take in the situation. We form scripts in our mind. So if we've been in a situation before, we tend to form a script that says, this is the way it went down before, this is the way it's probably going to go down again. Kind of like we're acting out scenes. It's just a general knowledge of what's going to happen. It can keep us safe. So if things like someone runs a red light and hey, you better get out of the way like really, really fast before your body and mind even figure out exactly what's going on, right? So they can keep us safe. It also kind of lets us know how to act in society. We are 9% more accurate at judging. Skipped ahead. We infer the situation based on what is going on, what we see from people around us in that script. So if we're in a situation that we think we know what's going to happen, we see a face, we can infer if they're surprised, if they're shocked. The thing is, it's done so quickly and we only see a small snapshot that we're often wrong. That's why taking in the entire situation is very important. The third thing, where I tried to skip ahead to, is behavior. In general, we're talking about non-verbal behavior, including facial expressions, including the 6 that are universal: anger, fear, disgust, sadness, surprise, and happiness. Whether you're here or in China, you are probably going to be able to recognize those 6 emotions. We are, however, 9% more accurate at judging those in our in-group. So whether our nationality, our ethnic group, or the people that we hang around with the most, we are more accurate in judging their facial expressions. Always keep in mind culture. We've talked a lot about culture in this class, that it also will affect nonverbal behavior. We discussed, like in Bulgaria, shaking your head no actually means yes, and nodding your head yes actually means no. In some countries, I think it was Greece and Spain and Italy, rubbing the side of your face means that you're attracted to the person that you're speaking with. So just be aware always of the cultural effect on a situation, on their behavior. Quickly, we discussed lying. We are not as accurate as we think we are in telling when a person is lying. The average college student is only 53% accurate when they think someone is lying to them. The average police officer, FBI, CIA, is between 56 and at the very, very, very top end, the NSA, they are only 63 to 64%. I'm sorry, not NSA, Secret Service. At the very top end, 64% accurate in telling when people are lying. When we want to know if someone is lying to us, the nonverbal or the behavior that we should be paying attention to is not the nonverbal, not if they're like shaking or twitching. It is in their voice. If they hesitate and then they start speaking really fast and the pitch of their voice gets higher, it may be because they're lying to you. Also, if they have a hard time remembering the story for a second time or telling it backwards, it may be because they're lying to you. Just know you're probably not as good at detecting a liar as you think. Aside from making quick decisions about whether or not a person is trustworthy, we also want to be able to identify their inner dispositions. So their personality traits, their attributes. Are they kind? Are they generous? Are they funny? Etc. Can we see these inner dispositions? No, we have to infer them. We guess them from their behavior. Attribution theory uses immediate observations to form complex inferences to answer what people are really like and why they do what they do. Fritz Heider, as the father of attribution theory, stated that people are like amateur scientists trying to understand and make sense of other people's behaviors by piecing together information until they arrive at a reasonable explanation. The problem is we often stop with just that first little bit, which is usually what we guess about a person, and we don't take in the entire situation. It's what we attribute to. When trying to decide what people do what they do, we will generally make one of two attributions. We will generally categorize their behavior to an internal attribution or an external attribution. Internal is the person stating that they are doing this because of something inside of them. External takes a little bit longer because you have to take in the entire situation and say, oh, maybe they're doing this because of a situation. So the example that we used is if we come across a dad who's yelling at their child and we just come in and hear him say, what were you thinking? Well, if we ascribe an internal attribution to it, we might say that dad just can't control himself. He's yelling at his daughter, he's a bad parent. But if we take a second to look at the situation, we might realize that maybe it should be an external attribution because maybe the child had just run out in the road and almost gotten hit by a car, and the dad, out of fear, said, what were you thinking? And the child will remember that next time. So we are very, very good at making quick judgments based on someone's behavior and attributing it making an internal attribution, something inside of them. When we take the situation into account, which we have to think about so it's not an automatic process, that is when we make more external attributions. We do the same thing with ourselves. So when we take the blame for something and we say, okay, this was my fault, I can do better, that is making an internal attribution. When you say, I failed that quiz because the professor didn't teach it well enough and she didn't tell us exactly what we needed to know, that's making an external attribution and basically not taking responsibility for your actions. Kelly's covariation theory is the best known attribution theory, the one that is most often used. In a situation, we very quickly, unconsciously look at three things. We look at consensus. So do other people behave the same in similar situations? So if we're watching someone's behavior. And we would say, do other people behave the same, or is this like abnormal? We look at distinctiveness, which is the extent to which the person whose behavior we're watching behaves the same in similar situations. And consistency, does the person behave the same every time in the exact same situation? So, quick example we used in class. Your boss is yelling at a coworker, Hannah. The attributional question is, why is the boss yelling at Hannah? Is it because of something inside the boss? It's the boss's behavior. We don't care about Hannah's behavior. So the boss's behavior, is it because of something inside the boss, or is it because of something in the situation, the external attribution? So our first question, consensus, which remember, do other people behave the same in similar situations? Do other people at work yell at Hannah? If yes, other people yell at Hannah, then it's high consensus. Second question, distinctiveness, the extent to which the person behaves the same in similar situations. So, does the boss yell and demean other employees? If he does, it's probably something, it can be internally attributed if he's yelling at everybody, right? And thirdly, consistency, does the boss always yell at Hannah? If the boss always yells at Hannah, but he doesn't always yell at anybody else, it's high consistency again. If he only yells sometimes, it's low consistency. So if he only yells sometimes or never in general, like 9 times out of 10 he's not yelling, then you will want to look at the situation and figure out what was going on, why he was yelling at her. It's 12 minutes. I'm going to continue in another video.